Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Morning Cup. I am so privileged today because I have Dr. Jeep and Vanessa with me. They have been relationship marriage coaches for 28 years and became specialized with healthcare professionals in 2018 due to the horrible toll that the constantly changing medical environment is having on those relationships. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you inviting us on.
Absolutely.
We have heard so much about your work, and we're just happy to be on with you.
Oh, well, it's an absolute pleasure having both of you on today. But I would love to just dive into your entrepreneurial journey, how you got here today, and then we can dive a little deeper.
Sure. You know what? Entrepreneurialism is not new to us. We started many years ago. In fact, when he graduated from his residency program and started medical practice, that's when it began. And my background is in accounting and management and finance. And so it just seemed like a perfect fit that we would go into business together. And we did. So when we were in practice together, it was a beautiful combination of business and medicine because I was so far to one side being business and he was so far to the other side being medicine that we just really brought each other to the middle. And we worked together for 10 years, absolutely loved it. But as healthcare changed and lots of solo docs went, family docs, that is, started working for hospitals. We kind of went through that progression. And we knew we always wanted to work together again. So that's pretty much our entrepreneurial journey.
And I would have to agree with that. I didn't have a great example growing up as far as how to do things financially. My dad was a physician, and physicians, unfortunately, do not get a lot of training when they're in their residencies and medical school and such. It's not something that is, at least back then, it was not focused on. And so my only example was my father, who really had no clue of anything and really thought he could figure things out himself, and it just didn't happen. So when we got together, as she said, it was a natural fit, and thankfully so, because we were able to do things quite well, survive quite well, and we had a great reputation for doing things the right way. And so other things kind of happened that we kind of got out of that. As far as the marriage coaching, we both decided, we come from varying backgrounds as far as marriage goes and how we were raised in them. And we both thought we could do a better job. And so shortly after we were married, we got trained, and that was in 1994, and we've been doing it ever since. More brick and mortar type of stuff, more not face-to-face with Zoom, but face-to-face, chair-to-chair kind of thing. So the transition into the digital world has been a bit of a challenge. and not in doing this, this is
fun.
This is fun. This is great. This is really enjoyable. But all of and I have to say, not being really digitally savvy has been in many ways, a journey more difficult than my training in medical school, which is saying a lot because that was pretty steep. But this is even steeper.
We liken it to Mount Everest. So we say this climb for us has definitely been like Mount Everest.
It's, just dealing with the marketing, dealing with
All the programs.
All the
The
different,
computer, the tech programs.
the software, all the software and understanding all those and
And
how,
typing.
well, yeah, typing for me is, I'm a pecker. I've gotten a little bit better, but
So we found a workaround.
so yeah, so we kind of mesh our business in Vanessa does a lot of the digital, or I should say most of it. I do a lot of the writing, do a lot of the the content. I'm very comfortable in doing that. I can tell a story, and that's where I thrive. But understanding the rest of this is boy, it's like I would even go further as to say the deepest part of the ocean, which is the Marianas Trench near the Marianas Islands, to go all the way up to Mount Everest. So, and it's not that it can't be done, it certainly can. But
for us,
we
did not, we weren't raised in the digital age. And in fact, I can remember when we started our practice, Windows had just come out.
Yeah, it's really dating. So
for email.
This was before cell phones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think bag phones were just starting. I remember you getting me a bag phone. So, in training, there were no laptops or anything like that. So it's been it's been quite a journey, but we merge our strengths and our weaknesses together to make it work. Without each of us, in more than in just that way, it just doesn't work. And so resilience and teamwork is huge in doing this in this age, I would say.
For us.
Yeah.
No, that is so beautiful. I love how you've been able to merge your strengths and weaknesses and being able to understand where you can thrive to really build a thriving business as well for so long too. And I love that you kind of went back to where you started of being able to bring the accounting and bring the medical aspect, but then also getting certified and being able to coach married couples as well, and really working through that. And you're a testament to that. 28 years is incredible of just working with couples, but also being married and going through the relationship that you've gone through your own and being able to help others too. So I'm curious, what was that initial thought process of going in that route of helping couples in particular with your backgrounds?
We knew that we wanted to help couples because in the beginning, we went through a program as well. I had previously been married and I was in a bad relationship. And so I made the decision after working really, really hard in that relationship and knowing that I could lead that horse to water, but if he wasn't willing to drink, it takes two to be in a marriage. We call it a team. And if there's just one person, then it ceases to become a team, or ceases to be a team. So therefore, I moved on, but was afraid. I didn't want to jump back into another relationship, marriage, and have the same thing happen again. And so we went through a program, which was absolutely wonderful, and, learned tools of communication and rules for arguing and, so many different things to help us. And we felt that was missing in our culture.
And tools that we learned that we have tweaked over the years and really added more to them. For me, two things that I knew when I was a child, old enough to know what profession I wanted to go into, but old enough also to understand a little bit the nuances of marriage. And I knew that I wanted to be married. I knew that what I was being exposed to wasn't optimal. And I knew that once I had the ability that I could make it better. not only for couples, but also, but really for healthcare professionals, and to know what the struggles that they faced back then through the years, and then the struggles that are even more right now. So, and Vanessa, being part of a healthcare professional marriage, understood very well from the spouse who was at home most of the time, especially with the kids, knew how a lot of these struggles affected her, and could be a really an example on how to do this the right way. And so this is we kind of look at this as like a mission, because we have been blessed through hard work and many other things, teamwork, and in regular work on ourselves, and we knew that we could do the same for others, and want to so much. It's so important to us, and the most important reason why we do what we do.
I just love that. I'm like feeling it all. And it's so true, because when you look at it, there's a lot of marriage therapists, there's a lot of marriage coaches. Like my background's marriage and family therapy, but I love that you really niche down on the health professionals and really taking ownership of that, of your experiences, and how you can really shed light and insight for those other couples that might be struggling, that might not have the tools, and giving them those tools because it was successful for you and the program you had gone through, but really giving back. And I felt, before you even said mission, I was like, I feel like this is a mission. Just like the little research I did before. And I love that, because a lot of people are quick to give up nowadays, or just throw in the towel, and really being able to work through that. So I would love to know maybe one or two success stories of clients that you've been able to work with.
Before I'll let Vanessa talk about the one couple who's just a shining example of the success that we've had. But in our opinion, and I'd be interested to know if you think the same, if you have difficulties, as long as the foundation is there, and that's love, that you love, and that you care about the relationship, as long as that's there, and that foundation there, the rest of what's above that foundation, the house, these little broken windows, can be fixed. And
great analogy.
And a lot of couples that we run into don't, we try to say, okay, is this foundation there? And if it is, it's a matter of saying, okay, you want this to work, you just need help to make it work. And once they get over that hump, then it's, but that could be a significant hump, trying to get them to understand that their foundation is good. So go ahead and tell them about our one of them.
So this brings to mind a couple, and family of origin really matters, and knowing personality really matters. And when you combine traits that you have learned, because of course all behaviors learned, right? You've learned these traits from your family of origin, and then you blend two separate people together. And after the honeymoon phase, trying to navigate their differences, their weaknesses, their strengths. If they've not been given those tools, it's very difficult for them to do that. And then resentment builds and trust breaks down. And before you know it, they feel like they're not in love anymore. And that's really not it. Society and Hollywood wants to tell us that when we don't have that honeymoon feeling, that we're not in love with that person anymore. And that couldn't be further from the truth, in our opinion. And so it's a matter of learning how to speak to each other so that you're not stepping on triggers, and being very empathetic to that.
It's
with each other.
It's you'd be, well, I don't think you would be, since you're in the field as well. How many people date Then it's kind of like a natural evolution to engagement. And then, okay, well, we've been together for a while, so why don't we just get married? And there really hasn't been a lot of substantial discussion on possible game-changing or deal-breaking issues before marriage. And there's this thought that, okay, well, yeah, I have this problem. Maybe he drinks too much, or I have this problem that there's too much dependence on the parents. Don't want it. Got to be over there all the time. Just to name a couple. Yeah. Or I don't want to have children. And the thought is, as soon as we put those rings on, that those problems are going to somehow, just magically go away. Well, as Vanessa said, when the honeymoon and the hormones have calmed down and real life is there, and you're doing this together day to day, now with a different type of responsibility, which is marriage, it's a totally different, situation. And it's just so surprising that so many people don't think about that ahead of time. And then when they get there, it's like, I thought this could be fixed, or I thought this could be, it wouldn't be a big issue, but constantly it is. And then there's not a significant amount of, okay, well, what do I really want and need out of this relationship?
I fell into that trap. My first husband, he drank a lot, but I thought, well, once we're married and he wants to come home to me, then he'll stop drinking. I was very, very young, and unfortunately, my expectation did not turn into reality. And so therefore, the drinking problem, I just could not rise above that.
Yeah. And you thought somehow that it was going to be better when you got married.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is a common, it's situation. Mistake is a little bit hard. Maybe a thought that this is the way he is, but I can change he or she from that. And that just doesn't happen. I don't say ever, but it's really an obstacle that you shouldn't have to climb, especially if you know about it.
Yeah. And it's really not about changing that other person. That other person wants to do it for themselves. And I didn't know that back then. I thought I could change him. And I think, that's a common pitfall that we fall into, thinking that we can do that. And it's really not our responsibility, but we have to learn that it's not.
Absolutely.
And what we do with our program is we use ourselves as examples, and especially with healthcare professionals. And this couple that Vanessa was getting into, there was this issue with communication that they didn't know where the problems were coming from. It's not that they didn't necessarily want to change, but when we had them do their personality inventories, we talked about their prior occurrences that they had in other relationships, and understood about their ethnic backgrounds and how they were raised. It was like an aha moment that they figured out, okay, well, it's why she's reacting that way. It's why he's reacting that way. And there was this whole new desire, because the desire was there to begin with.
Yeah.
But there was this whole desire now to, that they had some knowledge about how to move forward and to move forward the right way.
And understanding. And we as human beings, what is one of our major needs? It's to be understood.
Yeah.
So when our partner is making the effort to just try to understand where we're coming from and not viewing it as a power struggle, then that's when, the walls come down, the empathy comes in, the trust builds, and so on and so forth.
Oh, I love what you were saying, both of you. And I think it's so important. Going back to Dr. Jeep, when you were talking about the foundation, I use the house example a lot as well, because it's so just, you can imagine it, where if you don't have
Right.
a solid foundation, you can't have the roof, you can't have the walls. Like, you need that solid foundation, and you can build upon, like what Vanessa was just talking about too, the trust, the empathy, being vulnerable so you
Yeah.
can be understood.
Yeah.
The vulnerability is so huge. And,
Mhm.
not to be sexist, but, from a guy's point of view, and I think especially as a physician, it's difficult to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
But
Very.
if you're going to have the connection you desire, and if you're going to have the communication that you want,
Yeah.
we have to be vulnerable.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that makes us different is we teach them how to be vulnerable
Mhm.
by using ourselves as examples,
And talking about instances,
where, like, yeah, just sharing very intimate details that, we're showing them vulnerability, we're mirroring that to them.
Mhm.
So therefore, they're picking up bits and pieces from that.
And it gives them permission to do so when they see
Yeah.
two incredible individuals that have been married for so long as well, but being able to work through it. Because if you, like we were saying, the foundation, if you had the foundation, everything could be fixed upon that, but you
Yep.
have to have the love,
Yeah.
the understanding, and being open to having both people having both feet in versus
Yes.
one foot out. And
Absolutely.
that's what I keep hearing too. And I think that's so beautiful that you're able to merge that and give them examples and really be able to model that and mirror it for them so they can understand that it's possible for them too. It's giving them that permission of, yes, I can be vulnerable. It's hard, it's uncomfortable, but the more we do it, the more we get understood, the more we're able to communicate effectively. And it sounds like that's what you've been able to do for your clients time and time again. And what a beautiful example of the couple you shared with us today. And I appreciate that. And I'm curious, so when you did start your journey, I know you said there's been roadblocks with the technology piece, but has there been any other roadblocks along the way, maybe in the earlier years of your business?
I would say roadblocks, definitely was the technology piece. And, there's a lot of folks out there professing to be marketing experts, in the digital realm, and they are not. And so therefore, I guess we were very naive.
It's
when we
it's not
started it.
it's not a journey for the weak-kneed. But when you're out there and you really don't know a lot, you're at the mercy of people who not only want to, but will take advantage of you under the guise of that they're so wanting to help you, and they're so wanting to do different things. And so you go ahead and this is very important for your listeners that are entrepreneurs, that there's so many out there that want to overpromise and underdeliver. And and it's so frustrating because our want out of this business is to help as many people that we can, but we need help in getting our message out there. And
we know how to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And we were completely vulnerable.
Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately, that was not met with that same empathy. So that would be our cautionary tale, I guess, just making sure that there are lots of shiny objects out there, and take some time to go through and do research and get more information.
And you're going to make mistakes.
Of course.
And just understand that you're going to make mistakes, and don't beat yourself up about it, because if you're doing this for the right reasons, you know where your heart is, and certainly our hearts are not to take advantage of anybody whatsoever, but to get the help that we need to get our message out there. But most importantly, to help as many marriages as we can, and make a dent in these stressed out relationships before they end. And if they're and if it's at a different part, to help them get through that. And that's really what we want to do. So I think the biggest thing is to be resilient. Don't give up. Know what you want, know what your mission is, and stick to it.
Ooh, so well said. And I think that's so important, where people just stay on the vision, the tunnel vision of really what's going to work for them. And I'm curious if you could give maybe a few insights to what really helps a marriage outside of being vulnerable, communicating, anything that you haven't mentioned yet that might give a little insight to a couple that might be on the verge of being like, I need them.
Yeah. I think a huge part of it is forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
Because we all make mistakes. And, I say we fail forward to success, right? And, sometimes we don't mean to say some nasty thing that came out of our mouth, but it just flew out, right? And then you get that, oh gosh, why did I do that? So the ability what's so awesome about Jeep is I could say, I'm sorry, I messed up. I didn't mean to say that to you or hurt you that way. And it just goes away. It's like I'm sorry to him. Now, lots of people aren't that way, but for him, I'm sorry is huge.
To dovetail on that, sometimes usually when there's an argument, there's parts of guilt for both. The mistakes have been made on both. Maybe you want to say that in a certain argument, maybe the other partner is maybe more responsible, but you all have contributed to it. Even if you didn't initiate it, you stuck with it, probably said some things or did some things that just weren't appropriate. And so in that vein, it's so important to make a decision to love. And in making that decision to love, you take the you take the motivation to come and say, I'm sorry for my part in this argument. I apologize for that. And it's just, Vanessa, like she said, she does that to me, and I mean, it melts me. And so I'm just so appreciative. Oftentimes when she really wasn't the instigator of the argument, but she comes forward just like I have done on other instances. And if you do that, and it's accepted and understood by your partner or spouse, that's going to reflect back in the future to where they're going to do the same for you. And I love this phrase, compassionate intuition, meaning that when your partner or spouse says something, try to keep it in your mind that this is something that's being said out of love. Now, we're humans, we're not always going to see it that way, but if we try to look at it, and it's being said because there's concern over you, there's it's not necessarily meaning they want you to change, but it's something that's being said to you, sometimes something that's difficult to be said, and understand that it's coming from that vein. And I try to do that, and she tries to do it. We've been together for 32 years and married, be 30 in November. We still argue, and that's what we try to come across to the couples that we coach is, we're sitting here, it looks like we have it all together, but we still argue. We're not perfect. None of us are. We're human. We have our frailties. We're going to make mistakes, but it's how you handle those mistakes and how you communicate that to each other, which is which is so important.
It may take a few days, but we eventually get there.
But there's communication
Right.
in the meantime. It
Right.
may not be the, the big talk, or maybe each talk for a few minutes. It's not resolved, so you come back again either later in the day or the next day. But there's at least words flowing and not nasty ones.
Absolutely. It's not avoiding it, but I love that.
Right.
It's just, everything you were saying too, it just reminds me of what we were saying in the beginning of just how you are a team and you really work together, and the team can't win if they're not working together. It's both parties come together, both are pulling their weight in order to make it successful. And there's going to be times where you're not going to agree and that's being human, but I love how you're able to navigate that. And I can almost like see that happening with the couples that you work with, even though I've never been in the room, but just being in the room with you now and just really hearing you, I think it's really navigating it and giving them that road to follow, because you're leading by example of you're human, you're going to make mistakes. It's not always going to be perfect communication. That doesn't exist, but being able to have that open dialogue to really understand each other and continue to build upon that foundation that's been set.
Right.
We've had some tremendous obstacles that we've dealt with in the times that we've been together. And that perhaps is one of the driving factors, among others, but probably one of the biggest factors is that we've been able to overcome those, which in relationships that didn't have a stronger bond, and in relationships that didn't communicate regularly about possible issues that could have been overcome and prevented if that communication was done regularly. So we have that, and so
also the choice.
Yes. Yeah.
Both wanting it for the other, the choice and the commitment to continue to get through the darkness, and knowing that the team, working as a team, will come out of it on the other side and there'll be light.
We call each couple, each participant in the relationship to give 100%. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, some days 30% may be my 100%. Other days, 70% may be my 100%. But if that is accepted and seen the right way, that you're going to get that back double fold sometime in the future when your 100% is 20 or 30%.
Yeah.
And understanding.
And it's happened to us.
Oh my!
In 30 years, you would be surprised.
But you explain that to couples, and another aha moment. Okay, I get that. I'm wanting to give 100%, but my 20% or 50% today.
That's my capacity.
I'm sick, I'm sick, or I'm late, or this or that. Something comes up, which life does. And it's just that understanding.
Yeah, it's not about you. It was the situation.
Yeah. Right. And so, and coming to understand and be agreeable on that, it's huge. It's huge.
I love it. I was picturing, and I've used this example before, but it's like an elliptical where it's like, okay, sometimes you're 80 and 20 or 70, 30, 60,
perfect.
40. Like what you're saying.
I love
Feel free to use it.
Awesome.
But I think that's so beautiful that you're able to really capture that. And we're human, and it's situational when things come up. It's not personal, and how to really, again, navigate that, because it can feel like so much, especially if there's a lot of emotions involved, or if you're not communicating, you're taking it out on something that doesn't even exist because you're focused on something else, but really bringing it back to what is the situation and how to just really talk to each other, like have that communication.
Isn't that the basis of all things? I mean, it seems so trite and cliche, but if you don't have that communication and you don't know how to communicate to each other, where is the relationship? It dies.
And communication, it's such a buzzword, right? Everybody will say, what is it? It's the communication. Well, okay, then why do we have 50% of the marriages in the country divorcing? Okay, Communication. Well, we teach them how to do it
And deconstruct
and
it
deconstruct
from
it.
where it went off the rails.
Exactly. We teach them how to talk to each other.
Mhm. And that's what it's about. It's really being able to understand each other, listening and actively listening to what somebody's saying versus listening to respond in our own manner.
Exactly.
But with that being said, what are maybe 2 or 3 things that you could leave us with today around just what you wish you would have known in the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey that you know now?
I'll go first. I think when you decide to be an entrepreneur in the world today, you really have to have a lot of knowledge. You need to read. You need to surround yourself with the right people, which is not always easy to do. My heart goes out to single entrepreneurs that are doing this all themselves, because personally, like we've told you, I don't know how we do what we do if we're not jointly working on this. And to think that there's a single person that's doing this is daunting, overwhelming, whatever word you want to use, scary. So make sure that you have the right help, that you're looking for the right help. And some of that is going to be reading about what you need. But otherwise, surrounding yourself, I think, with the right people. Give them a chance, but do your research on who these people are, and do painstaking research. Look at online reviews, understanding that not everybody is going to be satisfied with everybody's services, but in general, if you look and there's a lot of reviews on there that aren't good, you need to stay away. Or if there aren't any online reviews, you want to find out, okay, how come I can't read a review about anybody that's worked with you? That's a red flag if they're not, doing that. And these are some of the issues that if we had to do things over, we'd pay much better attention to those kind of things, because it kind of, in not doing that, we went off the rails, and it took a while to get back on the path that we needed to get on.
And my point would be just persevere and just be relentless. If you want it bad enough, then you just adopt the attitude of whatever it takes. And I grew up in a family business, and that was the motto, whatever it takes. So thankfully that was passed on. So it's a matter of really mindset, right? It's mindset to whatever it takes, the resilience and the grit.
And understand that this is a journey.
Yeah.
This isn't something that's going to happen. It's snap of your fingers. There's going to be time that you are going to have to put into this. Things aren't going to happen as quickly as you want them to. Understand that and just keep moving. It's like the hare and the tortoise. Very seldom does it come like the hare, like immediately. It's more slow and steady, like the tortoise.
That would be nice.
Just understand that. Because we
tortoise is quadriplegic.
And sometimes you kind of think that, okay, you're going to get frustrated because you're putting in all this work.
Yeah.
It's not bearing any fruit, and you're like, really? But understand there's going to be times like that, but understand it from the beginning.
Just like a marriage, right?
Yeah.
Just like a marriage.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow, that was an aha moment there.
I love it. That was a perfect example. It really puts it in perspective.
Yeah.
Patience is a virtue.
But it's worth the work.
And it's also an action.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. When I read that, I'm like, patience is an action. Oh, I needed to hear that.
It is.
That's
It
a good
is that.
reminder for me
Yeah.
and everyone listening too.
Yeah,
As well.
absolutely.
Oh, I've been so enjoying this conversation with the both of you, but we're going to jump into the rapid fire questions if you're ready for them.
Go for it.
Okay. The first question is, who is your hero?
You can
I
go
can tell you
first.
mine.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Mm. Mhm.
I would second that.
Love it.
We've been through a lot of things, and without our faith.
And I know you probably have listeners out there that aren't of the same persuasion, which we totally understand, but
Yes.
we've been through so many things that without that it'd be much more difficult, I think, to get through things.
And so whatever their higher power is, or what they draw upon for that strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Definitely.
Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
And so what motivates you to work smarter?
Working.
And this goes back to, okay, fool me once, shame on me.
Yeah.
Or shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Mhm.
And there's been too many problems. Fool me twice, 3 times, 4 times, shame. So if you're making a mistake, you want to try to learn from that. And just and Vanessa has this in spades more than I do. I mean, it's part of
It's
her
my personality.
personality. I'm not going to stop until I completely figure this out, even if it takes her hours to figure out a single thing.
12, 16 hours. Yes, I will.
I'm like,
there.
honey, what are you doing? I'm still working on that thing from this morning. And I'm saying, really? Because I'm like, okay.
It's not gonna beat me.
And I think is wanting to know how to do things better.
Yeah.
I think that's it's so important. And in learning how to do things better, and hopefully not taking as long to do them.
Yeah, that's the goal.
It's a good goal.
Not just like I haven't figured it out. Okay, heck with it. I'm moving on.
Yeah.
Because that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Combining forces. Both have the different
Yes.
perspectives. Keep you on track.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely.
So if you were to be a superhero, what would be your power or powers?
Oh,
Ah.
I totally know. I'm just going to make up a new superhero, but I don't, maybe you can help me on who it would be, but I am such a lover of education, knowledge. I'm constantly reading to learn about so many different things that I want to have a port and I want my brain to be a computer so that I can just upload things in and do it much more quickly than I do it now as a human.
I love that.
I
want
think
that one.
for me, and I would do this in the right way, not the wrong way.
Okay.
I wish I could read minds. But I would use it, like I said, it can be used for just despicable purposes, but I would use it knowing that I'm approaching somebody in the correct way. And when you get an idea of when you're coaching, if your approach is the right way, but sometimes not. And being able to know that, figure that out, be better at it.
To give them what they need.
Yeah. And to
filling that gap.
Not that I would work any less hard, or different, but just to have that knowledge. But I think we all would like to have that in a positive way.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's like combined forces, like once again, where it's like you have the knowledge and now you know what's going on, so you can combine forces.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's beautiful. So if you were to share a meal with any 4 individuals, living or dead, who would they be? And if you want 8, because there's 2 of you, so 4 each.
4 individuals.
Wow.
Unless you have the same ones.
These are hard.
No, but they're good. They're stretching questions, which I always like being stretched. Always. Oh, wow. I would say, well, Christ would be one. I would say two, back at the birth of our country, I would say, any of those early people, Benjamin Franklin or George Washington. Let's see, three. I already had this kind of once, but my favorite sports hero was a guy who played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're an hour west of Pittsburgh. His name was Willie Stargell, and I got to meet him, but I really didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with him. I would like that. And the fourth person, I think would be somebody, a real difference maker in, boy, let's say, the guy who did the printing press, Gutenberg, I think that was his name, because he basically transformed how we communicate. It was by the voice, and there was the written word, but he figured out a way to make it quickly, and so he'd probably be the other one.
Wow, that's fascinating. Good choices. And for you, Vanessa?
Oh, this is so hard.
How about music?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was classically musically trained. So I would choose, you'll be shocked, but I would choose Lady Gaga right now because she is so gifted.
Yeah.
And the talent. I would love to just sit and chat with her about that. I think that I would want to sit and chat again with my Italian grandfather. He died when I was like young, 13-ish, and I really didn't, he immigrated from Italy, so I really didn't spend enough time getting to learn about our family. So I'd want to sit and have a chat with him about all of that. Oh, my best friend, Robin, who passed away from breast cancer in 2008. So I'd want to have a chat with her. We would be laughing the whole time.
One more.
I know. One more. Jeez. Maybe Freud.
Oh boy. Wow, I wasn't expecting that one.
I would say, buddy, let's have a chat.
Yeah, you got some things wrong, pal. That's interesting.
What made you think some of the things you did? Give us your theory. Okay, this is your theory, but why is it your theory? I'm definitely somebody that wants to know the why about everything. So why is that your theory? What made you think that?
That'd be a fascinating table.
Can you imagine? Oh, wow.
I love it. So if you were to look at everything you've done in your life thus far, what has been the most daring thing you've done?
The most daring.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
For me, I went to medical school the first time in on an island in the Caribbean called Grenada, and I was involved with a coup there that myself and other students that were there had nothing to do with. And I ended up being evacuated off the island.
As he
it
was
was-
being shot at by
This was 40 years ago.
Cubans.
Actually, it'll be 40 years ago next year. Which it was a big daring thing for me to even go down there, because I had never been out of the country. I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I really didn't want for anything. And I had been outside the state of West Virginia probably on a plane once, and that was just a couple of states over. So it was a huge leap of faith for me to do that. But it helped me mature in so many ways that I can't tell you. It was so worth it. I didn't end up finishing there, but just going over and getting to see how much better we in this country have it compared to so many other people who have no clue about what we have, just what they hear. They live in block houses with tin roofs, and I had never seen anything like that. It really enriched my life for the time that I was over there, but really out of my wheelhouse to do something like that.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Marrying me, right?
No, no, having a child
Oh,
That is very daring.
for a whole host of reasons. You know, the fear of becoming a mother. While I was pregnant, I would just cry all the time from hormones, of course, and say, I'm not going to be a good mother. You know, what if I'm not a good mother? And yeah, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was definitely a leap of faith.
and it was an issue between us
Yeah.
too, that
The
you
number
know,
of children.
that we didn't deal with enough before we got married. So,
Right.
So, but and you did a wonderful job.
Thank you, honey.
Still do.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you both for sharing those, because they are very daring in their own rights as well. So what is the phone app that you use the most?
Oh, this is embarrassing. It's embarrassing, but I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Sure, you're not.
The phone app.
Amazon.
Oh my gosh.
You're definitely not alone.
The phone app that I use the most. Oh, are we like, besides email and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the app you use the most.
I would say it's right now, it's that and my Google Drive.
Makes sense, running a business and life.
And it's cheap.
And you're shopping on Amazon.
I mean, Amazon, it's so easy, and it makes you lazy, because you don't want to take a drive here or there to pick something up. You just order it, and it's, we have a warehouse in Pittsburgh, so you get it the next day, and it's like, it's good and it's bad.
Yeah.
Guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
So what is the last book that you've read or listened to?
Well, I have a book that I have written, but we'll do that at the end. That's not the, oh man.
I'll go.
Go ahead.
So the one that I'm currently reading right now is Rekindling Desire by Dr. McCarthy.
Sounds intriguing.
Uh-huh.
It's not that I don't read, believe me. Yeah.
He's looking on the shelf.
There's just so many, it's hard to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that? Oh, yeah. I probably the last significant long book that I read was Nicholas Sparks, 2x2.
Mm.
And I love I like biographies, but I really love fiction, especially his, because they're for the most part they end well, and they're I would say they're like rom-com movies.
He loved
And
that.
as a guy, I know I'm unusual, but I love rom-coms. I mean, I gravitate to those movies because, the girl gets the guy gets the girl. They, the movie has a great ending, and sometimes I try to cry and can't, but it just leaves you with a great feeling. And I think Nicholas Sparks, most of his books are, they're kind of like that. So I would say 2x2 by him.
Awesome. Well, speaking of rom-coms, if you were to have a movie about your life thus far, who would play each of you?
Wow.
Let's see. Well, I used to say in Grenada, there was when we were evacuated, they did a movie. In fact, Clint Eastwood did the movie. It was called Heartbreak Ridge, and people wanted to know who played me in the movie. And I always told them Clint Eastwood. And I probably would continue to say Clint Eastwood because he is, to me, the consummate actor. He can be believable in whatever he plays, still at the age of 90 something, maybe not as good as he used to, but I think he would do a very good job because he can be very sensitive. He can be very caring and very giving and macho at the same time. I'm probably not as macho as him, but he could certainly make me look that way.
I want you to be Richard Gere.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm sorry. I'm not no American Gigolo movie. No. I mean, I liked him in Officer and a Gentleman, and no, sorry, no Richard Gere. Not for me anyway.
Oh gosh, I have her face. Lane. What's her face?
Diane Lane.
Diane Lane.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who was a beautiful,
Still is.
paired with Richard Gere in Unfaithful.
A couple of movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd probably do a good job.
Yeah, I really like her.
Oh, I love it. That would be an amazing movie.
Yeah.
Wow, what a great question.
Lights and Road
Wow.
Dancing.
Yeah, I still haven't watched.
Richard Gere and Diane.
I still haven't watched all that movie yet.
Oh, well, we'll do it again. I really think
That's a Nicholas Sparks book.
I think so too.
Yeah,
There
but that
you
wasn't a
go.
good ending.
No, that was a sad ending.
Well, you can change the ending.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll just move there.
Oh, Rodante. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Problem solved. Stay communication.
Time to get the hell out of West Virginia.
Oh,
Oh,
beautiful.
man.
So if you were to look at your family recipes, do you have a favorite family recipe that you make together or that you just love that's a traditional one as well?
And Vanessa's such an awesome cook. But don't do that. You are a good cook.
No, I'm doing that because I'm thinking about what you would cook.
My favorite family recipe, because she used to make it pretty much for me, and I can find it in Amish country, which is a couple of hours away from where we live, in a certain type of season. Concord grape pie. And my grandmother, I used to see her making that. She'd make a cobbler out of it, and she would take those grapes and, she would peel them and oh my God, I could sit there and eat the whole thing myself, and most often probably did. Yeah, I have to say there's so many, but that's really what pops up that that I really like and remember. I couldn't make it myself though.
Mine would be this shredded beef thing that my mom makes. There's no recipe. She just throws it all together. It's really, really sweet.
Is that the one with the peppers?
Yeah, it's got peppers in it. It's just, I've tried to make it. It doesn't taste the same, even using the same ingredients. So
it's, you can't oftentimes, especially if it's like a family, if it's an heirloom recipe, they made it, and there's certain things that they probably don't even realize that they do, that they're not going to write down. And so it's, it's like taking some people who want a garden, and you do it the same way as they do, and their gardens thrive and yours die. and it looks like you've done exactly the same way, but there's something in your touch, something how you move the dirt or something like that, just like with the recipe.
Yeah,
that's true. That's very true. Well, it sounds like a great meal. You have dinner and dessert.
There you go. Yeah.
So if you had to describe yourself as an animal, personality type, style, what animal would you be?
Probably a dog. Probably a dog. Love them. I grew up on a farm, so really dog, horse. Definitely not a cow. Definitely not a cow.
Definitely not a cat. I'm not a cat lover. Not because I wish anything bad to cats. They have their own personality, and for me to have a cat, they'd have to not have any claws, because I've been scratched too many times.
And bitten.
Yeah,
both of us. We that was like one of, when you're getting to know someone, we talk about, oh yeah, cats, no, not for me, because they just bite me and I'm afraid of them. And he's like, yeah, me too.
I would say, I probably would say a dog too. A dog that loses its temper occasionally, but for the most part is loving unconditionally, cares unconditionally,
loyal
unconditionally. And we have an aging dog right now who's exactly that way. Yeah, she'll be 13. She's a greyhound.
Oh.
So yeah, watching her go through that, I'd say like her for sure.
I love it. I could see that. And my final question for these are, what is your favorite way to spend your day off? So if you're not helping all the couples that you get to help, what are you doing?
For me, I would say the day that we spent, actually it was it Sunday? Yeah. We get up, and I went to mass, and then after mass we got home and started to do some things around the house. Laundry, and I think Vanessa did some cooking, and we had a big list of things that we had to get done, and it wasn't just me doing it and her doing it. It was us doing things together. And we went out to Panera and had lunch, and then after that went to 3 different stores to get our things done, and had just enough time to go see. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's called Where the Crawdads Sing. Phenomenal. But that's us spending time together. I cherish all of the time.
Either that or on a plane flying somewhere.
Yeah.
Fun.
That. But for definitely something that I think that's my favorite day. A meal, doing things together like that.
It sounds like the perfect day.
Yep. Sure. What good weather too.
Definitely.
That's important.
Yeah, in fact, I was debating on whether or not to say the weather app for the app that I look at the most. It was between that and the Google apps.
Mm. Well, good choices both. They're both very informative in their own rights.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, use your services? We're going to link everything in the YouTube description, but if you could let us know now as well.
Yay. Actually, just going to our website, which is www.bestfriendsagain.com. And we have, who's getting it now, the book.
Yes.
The book is What's Forever For.
Perfect.
And so our website, also we're on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
That would be another resource. And we do have a free resource on our website. So please go to the website and download the free resource.
Our website has a description of the program that we've developed for couples. The book, I'll just give you a short little history about that. With a coach that I was working on, he and Vanessa and I were trying to figure out something that we could do together because I was getting out of active practice. And he said, well, you guys did so good with last time you worked together. So what do you do? And I said, well, we've been marriage coaches for several years. He said, well, why don't you write a book about that? And so, just like that, just write a book, just like that.
Yeah.
But he could see something in me. And so I sat down and put together a table of contents and just started writing from there, and purposely wrote it in a way that it was understandable, regardless of your socioeconomic background or your education level. And because that's how we talk to our clients. It's how we, I've always talked to my patients, and I want people to be able to take things away from it without having to really dig really hard. And I think that that's something that I was able to achieve. And so part of our program is also taken from the book. So it was a labor of love, and Vanessa had a lot to do with the book as well.
Well, thank you both so much for coming on, sharing all your insight, your wisdom, the amazing answers on the rapid fire as well.
Oh my gosh.
No, but I so appreciate you both coming on and just really sharing all the stories and just your energy, your light, and how many people you are helping and the mission you're on. I so appreciate it. And I know my listeners are as well. So thank you so much.
Well, Carolyn, I can tell you
so much.
We've done a lot of podcasts and interviews, and I will have to say, without a doubt, this has been one of the best that we have done. You just the way that you run, the way you host, the questions, and like I said, I love to be stretched, and because in being stretched, I know that that I can be a better coach going forward, and you certainly have been an awesome example of that.
Well, thank you. I truly received that. And I do appreciate that. So make sure everyone to like, subscribe, comment below. What was the biggest takeaway from Dr. Jeep and Vanessa today? They had so many amazing things to say, but make sure to comment so they can see that comment as well. And I will link everything below so you can really connect with them right away. And we will see you on the next video.